We had 15 Olotos that reigned between 1592 till 2016.
Ọba tó máa bá contest a try. Ẹ̀wọ̀n kéèkì ṣe pé àwa kún ọ̀sà. Àwọn ọba mi wọ́n kún ọ̀sà kó tó di kán lè nílẹ̀ ni.
Even if the Oba of Lagos want a land on the mainland, he would rather ask of such from his brother, the Oloto.
Just that we all assembled in Lagos does not mean we will take that belongs to another family.
Otto itself is a gold mine for Lagos State. It's a revenue source for the government of Lagos State.
A lot of Otto is a mighty and a very powerful tree.
Before the 14th century, Ogunfunmire ruled on the mainland and Otto. In the 14th century, at the demise of Olofin, the paramount ruler on the mainland and Otto, he was succeeded by Oloto, the new king. He was known as Pau, ruler of the mainland, with Ido Island as the seat of government. The title of Oloto is hereditary. He is the Oba or king in accordance with the ancient tradition of Yoruba land. In a book titled Political and Cultural Perspectives of Lagos by H.A.B. Fashinro, captures the very essence of the Olotos, their origin, and their relationship with the Idejos in the 15th century. Alan Burns supports this fact on page 34 of his book titled One of the Other Sons Succeeded His Father as the Oloto of Otto. The title of Olofin falling into abeyance. It is believed to be so due to the distinguished character of the Olofin and the high regard entertained for him at his death. The fact that a king had been on Ido Island with authority over the space and its environs, including Ebutemeta and neighboring mainland, was confirmed by Mr. P. Amory Talbot in his book, The People of Southern Nigeria, wherein he also confirmed, in addition, that attacks by the Beninese were all repelled.
Oloto is the most senior Oba in Lagos because he's sitting on the throne of Olofin Ogunfunmire. Oloto is the one succeeded Ogunfunmire. Bawu was the son of Ogunfunmire. The journey began and that journey ended up here too. So they call this place Ebutemeta, that is the tree arbor. Lagos Island, Lagos Ido Island, that is Ido Bruce and Oyibo. So, and he has many children. Oloto, Aromire, Olumegbon, Onekoyi, Onitana, Elegushi, Oniru, Oluwa, Onisiwo. These are the Idejos. This Ogunfunmire, he has his own crown that different from other crown. This crown I'm wearing, that is the Ogunfunmire crown, the Olofin crown. The first Oloto was 1592. The name was Pawu. He reigned between 1592 to 1628. And after him, after Pawu, Kumolu was the next to Pawu, reigned between 1628 to 1655. After Kumolu reigned, Kumeru reigned between 1658 to 1681. Aradojo reigned between 1684 to 1729. Akinjufe reigned between 1730 to 1765. Along the line, there was interregnum between 1765 to 1816. After interregnum, Balore Agbaya reigned between 1816 to 1859. Osuro reigned between 1859 to 1868. John Akinyemi reigned between 1868 to 1888. Esugbayi reigned between 1888 to 1906. Ajayi reigned between 1908 to 1922. Yesufu Omiriji reigned between 1925 to 1930. Akinlolu Akodu reigned between 1931 to 1944. Tiamiyu Odutofagbayi reigned between 1944 to 1956. Jayesimi Ogudimu reigned between 1959 to 1976. Ganiyu Okeide Odesoya reigned between 1990 to 2016. Then I now succeeded Ganiyu Okeide Odesoya. That was my father. I succeeded him.
Our forefathers did not wear a branded crown. They wore the popular white cap called keremes. That's what they wear. Ijora, Ilogbo. There wasn't anything like the conventional monarch here at that time. But when my elder brother came, due to his enlightenment, he consulted history and realized that indeed there was an Oba here. By traditions, it was not just the wearing of keremes, but the Yoruba crown.
Ogufumira left Ife, Ile-Ife, to, at that time it was the in thing to look for. He was a prince of Ife anyway. He left the place and was looking for a fertile place to establish. And of course, most often they had their oracle that directs them on where to go to. The first place he settled was in Isheyi. And from there, after some time, he moved further with his entourage and got to Ebutemeta and settled there. In fact, when he settled at Ebutemeta, when war broke out, Ebutemeta was very open to areas where enemies can come into. He moved further. Distance were between 14th to 15th century. Because when he died, his children took over, or Oloto succeeded him in that capacity. So it is the first Oloto that we can put a date to. So you can use his date to trace back and be able to have an idea. And again, you could use all of his, when the period he was incarcerated in Benin, you because after a lot of this thing he was captured by the Benin and taken to Benin. A lot of things happened there that Benin had to plead with him to come back. They released him, and then with a great expedition, they led him back to Lagos. So it will be difficult to actually put a date within the period he left Ile-Ife to Isheye and then to Ebutemeta and eventually settled in Otto. But even when he settled in Otto, he maintained his control. I know he was a farmer and a fisherman. He maintained his control of all the water access between Ebutemeta Creek up to Ogutu, and maintained a farmland to all those areas. So he was a very generous person, giving out farmland to so many people.
The advent of slave trade that made it so easy for the Europeans to deal more with the Oba of Lagos, that also made them to decide to concentrate more powers to the Oba of Lagos at the detriment of Otto, because he refused to participate in slave trade. Otto was made to be a white cap chief under the Ileku, under the Oba of Lagos. Why that happened, I couldn't say.
The Oloto, as the head of his settlement, had a number of chiefs such as Lisa, Aru, Odofin, Abore, Erelu. They are all Bales, installed with the approval and consent of the Oloto. This fact is captured in a book titled Historical Notes of Lagos, West Africa, authored by Reverend J. Buckley Wood, wherein he also noted that the land on the mainland, to specific distances from the waterside, was regarded as belonging to the Oloto of the Ido Island.
The family has that unique opportunity of what property, real estate, and land merchandise is far better than any other families, any other Edejo that's a land-owning family in Lagos. Oloton land comprises where they put their ballets, comprises of Ebutemeta, Okubaba, Iwaya, Onichirin, Abule Oja, Bariga, Apeleyin, Abule Okuta, Ifako, Agege Omi, Oworochoki, Ogudu, Yaba, La Leye, Shomolu, Akoka, Abebe, Surulere, Onike, Okera, Igbobi, Idi Araba, Idi Oru, Obanikoro, Ilupeju, Maryland, Owode Onirin. Those are the lands that belong to Oloto. It's decided to make someone an Oba in areas that in those days predominantly was being headed by the Oloto. If you go to land registry today and you search for title on land to determine ownership through root of title, and you have Oloto royal family selling as far back as 1923, 1945, 1970, and you're making someone an Oba in year 2000. Let it be done in such a way that there will be good understanding on the aspect, because you know what is happening. An Oba will come and say, Oba Balori Mbugbo. That means a king has powers over everything on his land, in the areas where he's crowned as king.
On the 15th of May 1947, the Glover Settlement Act was enacted as a law. At about the year 1867 and 1868, John Glover, commander in the Royal Navy administration of the government of the island of Lagos was desirous of establishing on a certain land at Ebutemeta as settlements primarily for the use of certain refugees from outside of the island, and whereas the said land was reputed to be subject to the control of the Ido chieftaincy of Oloto, this would mark the authority that has for long been established. True certified copies of the documents were provided by the Director, National Archives. There is more dating back to 1900, where the Supreme Court on the colony of Lagos on the 11th day of May 1900, before His Lordship Thomas Crossley, Rayner, the Chief Justice, presided over the case of land ownership dispute of Bariga. The case was between the Oloto as plaintiff and defendant Ajase. The claim was to recover possessions from the defendant of all that piece of land situate at or near Egbe, and commonly known as Bariga's farm. The plea was possession. Ajasa opens and calls Ajayi, who declared before the Chief Justice, saying, "I am Chief of Ajora and the white-capped Chief of Lagos. I know the plaintiff. He is the Oloto of Otto village and Ido Island. He owns lands which begins at Abebe near Ebutemeta and ends at Ogudu Creek. This further dates back the land ownership belonging to the Oloto in the 19th century."
Oloto has been known to own land from Ebutemeta Creek to Ogudu Creek. And when I say that, I'm talking of almost the whole of mainland. And then Ebutemeta, mainland, Yaba, Ogoroshoki, down to Ogudu. There are so many, there are judgments to that effect. There are books to that effect. There are reports of inquiries set up by government. And we also have a legislation. Though the legislation did not specify the area, but the legislation was able to establish the authority of Oloto on the mainland. I'm talking of the Global Settlement Act. Global Settlement Act number 21 of 1947. Sometime, if you read the introduction to the act, it said, whereas between the year 1867 to 1868, John Harley Glover, commander of the Royal Navy, who was administering Lagos then, had cause to settle some people in Ebutemeta. Then we had this Egba War. When there's a term they call it in Yoruba. There were a lot of influx of refugees into Lagos. And Glover then, being governor of Lagos, decided to settle them at Ebutemeta. He had one misconception. He had the feeling that Ebutemeta was Lagos, and Lagos had been ceded to the crown by Dosimu. And of course, Oloto challenged that position, because the books have established that Oloto never, at any given point from history, submitted to the sovereignty of the Oba of Benin that eventually had his subjects ruling in Lagos Island. No, he had never, at any given point. All through the Benin expeditions, the first expedition, the second expedition, the third expedition, Otto was never conquered. So when Dosimu ceded Lagos, he actually ceded that is Lagos, where he was administering. And the governor had the misconception that it was the whole Lagos. And so when he did it, Oloto challenged him. At the end of the day, the matter went up to the Privy Council, and a decision was taken that it was wrong.
All the lagoons being sand-filled by Oronshoki. His father lived in Ijora, behind where my maternal grandmother lived. His father came to this palace to visit the monarch at the time. It was Oyekan that begged for the crown on his behalf. And during the time for declaration, Oworo, Oloto, and perhaps the Ko family, because it was Oloto that sold land to the Ko family at Oworoshoki. Coal has been in existence for a very long time. So how come it is Oloworo who has the right to be monarch, when in reality it was the Oloto that gave them land? He wasn't given land. Government only gave him a crown.
Olówòrò nìkan ló máa jẹ ní Lówòrò. Nígbà tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé Ọlọ́tọ̀ ló fún lẹ̀. Gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì fún ládé ni.
Ó parí nìyẹn.
Spreading as far as Okobaba, Makoko, Iwaya, all belong to the Oloto. Do you know Aru in Abeokuta? It also belongs to Oloto. My husband is a descendant of Alake of Egbaland. To know how vast the geographical landmark of Oloto is.
Some of the battles of Oloto that now elevated, upgraded to Olu status. One of them is Igbobishabe. One of them is Oluwaya. One of them is Oloworo. Oloto, my father, the late Oba Ganiu Odewale Odesoya, was the one that concepted the Olu Gbobishabe. Oloto up to tomorrow is the consenting authority of the Olu on mainland. The history remains that Oloto of Otto is the paramount ruler of the whole mainland. When we talk of mainland, we are not talking of mainland local government. We are talking of mainland as a whole that comprise the whole local government under the mainland. We're not talking about the local government. It's not about the local government. It's about the land, jurisdiction, the domain. Who is the owner of the land? And I will use this opportunity to employ the government. Before they can consider any Olu to upgrade to status of first class, they should first of all recall to the rightful owner.
An act was enacted to establish that position. Claims by the Oba of Lagos in respect of certain lands within the global settlement should be quietened. You understand that? So that was the basis for this. They wanted to make sure that, look, there is nothing again the Oba of Lagos can come to this, to mainland or Ibutemeta to lay claims on. In fact, one of the judgments I read said the Oba of Lagos cannot give any person land on the mainland except with the authority of the Otto. So it's up to that extent. So the legislation has made it very clear that his claims and interest in that area was to be laid to rest by this settlement, by this settlement act.
The Oloto clan is revered for its culture and tradition, which is depicted in its food, the local amala, ewedu, and gbegiri soup, a delicacy relished all over the country today. But its roots are found in Otto and across Yoruba land. Fish is prepared in various ways and provides the major source of protein for the largely fishing and farming community. Otto is known for its rich traditional clothing and accessories, seen here worn by the locals, both adults and children. Festivals in Otto are innate, starting with the festival of the gods of the seas, or Agba festival, celebrated by the Oloto of Otto and his siblings, spread across the mainland. He will be the first to celebrate before dates are picked by the other siblings to celebrate theirs. This very hierarchy establishes the supremacy of the Oloto of Otto and mainland over other Obas. Singing songs of praise is a deep part of the tradition of the Otto people.
When we heard they were approaching, the women will go inside the house. Women are also forbidden to see what they are bringing. We would now be singing from the room where we were locked, and everyone will be celebrating. Everywhere would have been overcrowded. Even the king and his chiefs will be at Oriba singing all together. The men usually do this in a vigil, while we, the women, do ours during the day, when the king is inside the shrine, praying. We, the women, will continue to sing out loud.
Weekly prayers are offered for the king and his ancestors, as well as the Otto sons and daughters, a tradition that dates back to the 15th century. Rituals and prayers are a commonplace in Otto. Presiding over this ritual is the priest, reverenced by other kingsmen. The shrine is one of 3 others where prayers are held for the greater good of the Otto kingdom. A procession leads to a second shrine, just by the palace of the Oba, the king. Towering from a distance and over 200 years old, a massive tree stands in its glory, in green, in every season. The priest will explain the very spiritual symbol it connotes.
That tree is ancient. Any descendant of Otto that claims that he knows when they planted that tree is lying. Before the king brought the crown to town, we usually went to Olumegbo Palace. But that has stopped because we now have rituals under that tree.
concept.
There was a time the branches were cut. It went to the king as a woman to complain about cutting its children and warned against it.
It's more than 200 years.
More than that. More than that.
A third shrine is where His Royal Majesty Oba Bashir Abisoye Odesoya, the Oloto of Otto and mainland, would pray for prosperity, peace, and progress for his people.
Ìjọba wọn rántí wá sí rere ìlú Ọ̀tọ̀ àwa dàbí ìlú London ní àjọlù àlejò olú máa rí jẹun máa rí mu máa ṣe oríire a máa kọ́lé mọ́lé ìtàn burúkú gbogbo ohun tá a bá dáwọ́lé a máa yọrí sí rere ọdún tá à ń ṣe aláàánú rẹ fún wa àgbọ̀rọ̀ náà àwọn òsì rẹ àríbi àṣẹ
Àgbà ìgbé ọtí lẹ̀ ó ti fún àbá ọtí ni ẹ̀nà tí kìí tí ìgbà kìí gbà ẹni tí ẹni tẹ ẹni fẹ́ tó ń báyìí ayé wọn lè tẹ́ ní ìka tó ń báyìí gbogbo tá a bá yẹ ẹgbẹ́ yìí tẹ̀ra wọn àbá sọ́gbà tí bó ti yù á méjì sí ọmọ kábíyèsí aṣọ funfun báyìí ayé ò ní tako sí fún gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ìlú tó wà lẹ́yìn báyìí ọ̀nà wọn ní jábọ́ lẹ́yìn bí ìlú ṣe rí ẹ̀fẹ́ kò di mẹ́gásì ádàrí bẹ́ẹ̀ lójú yín báyìí ikú ò ní pa yín àmì ní gbé yín dè àjẹgbá yín tààrà lágbára gbẹdùmarè bẹ́ẹ̀ bá yọ kúrò yìí kì í dà ṣàkárá má nàkẹ́ a máa ní wọ́n pàtó mọ́ àgbà ọjà fún ẹ gbogbo tó kọ́ sí ilé àwọ̀ àníwò ẹ̀sìn bẹ́ẹ̀ báyìí. Yóò ní jó lu ìmọ̀ ọ̀hún. Bàbá gbogbo ire tí bá sùn lẹ́nu báyìí àwọn àṣẹ o.
Apáyàn. Ọwọ́ kan. Most of this king that you know, that you got to know, they were also crowned by this palace. A lot of them come to this palace, prostrate before this king, and they were given this entitlement to.
Olofin was a king. But when white men came, they refused to recognize, they refused to use the word king because they are using it for their own king. So they don't want any rivalry. Before now, before the first crowned Oloto, who happens to be the father to the present one, what we know is the father from time to time
they select among themselves who to rule them. They have that very good system of going to any of the ruin houses. We have 3 ruin houses. We have the Balo, we have the Lukpejobi, Erufa. They so much arrange it in such a succession that if Lukpejobi reigns from a particular time to the other, it roll back to Balo, then from Balo to Erufa. From Erufa, it reverts back to Lukpejobi. That actually diffused tension. It actually solved that problem of succession wrangling.
tí wọ́n bá fúnyàn ní wọ́n fúnyàn ládé okay ọlọ́tọ̀.
Although you have been installed as a king, you have not been given any authority over the land. Whichever land he sells, the Oloto must be involved over any land convenience so that he and the Oloto team will agree on the profit-sharing formula. We will not tolerate any monarch involved in any convenience of our land.
tó bá lórí ilẹ̀ wa tó bá ṣe convenience ànígbà.
One special thing with the Olotos is that if they sell a place to you and an issue comes years after and you call upon them, they will still come and stand by you. Now, asking whether there's a justification for them to lay claim to the whole thing. We all came from I came from all the way from Imo State, and nobody comes to my village to take my family land. Just that we all assembled in Lagos does not mean we will take that belongs to another family.
Otto is a small village and it's so mighty. As in, I mean when something so big and so mighty, and you have other obas gaining recognition by the same small and mighty village, and the village is not known.
It was just recently that we installed the new monarch after about 7 years without a king. This our father put in a lot of effort, just like the rest of us in the committee, to ensure a king is installed. You know that a kingdom without a king becomes a lawless society, but now that we have a king, order has been returned to our kingdom. This man here, Baba Jomo, is appointed by 3 compounds, and this is Babaru, who also represents several compounds. It is impossible for anyone to just appoint himself or herself. We're all under the authority of the king.
It is our own. Nobody can drag it from us. Up until Isaleko, it belongs to the Oloto. No foreigner is given a chieftaincy title here in Otto. Not even the Ibadan people.
It is naturally expected for people to clamor for the throne, just as I mentioned earlier. You want it, I want it. Same goes to our chiefs seated here. But only one person will emerge at the end of the day. And if it is not your time, you will only continue to struggle. We've seen people that almost attain the position of power and death happens all of a sudden. Those periods you were talking about, we were all dragging it among ourselves. And finally, when God said this is how the outcome is going to be, next good thing is for everyone to accept it in good faith and work together for progressive purpose. All the while that we didn't have a king, this palace was closed based on a court order. And after the court order, the palace was becoming dirty and untidy. That was when our fathers here took it upon themselves that they can't be alive and witness the palace of their forefathers in shambles. We were then led to clean it up.
ó di pé wọ́n bá ní ká lábẹ́ sí tún gbogbo ẹ̀ tí láńkọ́gbọ́n ti ń pè.
All that is now cleared as the king sits on his throne. People come to greet Kabesi. The Isheshe festival, now recognized by the government with a 2-day holiday in its honor, is also one of many celebrated by the Otto clan.
We have Yemoja worshippers and other spiritualists who also have a thing to do with water. All of them have their festival together every year. Before setting out for their festival, tradition demands that they must all pay homage to the Oloto. They will pray at the palace. Even after the festival, they will still return to the monarch to pray and make sacrifices in the interest of the community.
We are traditionalists. We may be married to Christians, but we are Onisheshe, and that tradition will never leave Otto, Ijora, and Ilogbo. It will never leave anywhere where Ijiwa festival is celebrated. Isheshe is superior.
All
of our children in the diaspora should return home. Nobody kills anybody. If their fathers and forefathers had been killed, they wouldn't have given birth to them. The children of the Oloto in America and in other places, are they not for the Oro festival? We worship Oro and we also appease Elegba, the one we call Ishu. Are we not doing well? Of course we are doing well. The only thing is, don't use it for evil purposes. That is it.
This year's Isheshe Festival 2023 coincides with activities lined up to celebrate the enthronement of His Royal Majesty Oba Bashir Abisoye Odesonya, the Oloto of Otto and mainland, as he marks a year on the throne of the Oloto of Otto and mainland after a period of interregnum. Commercial activities are vibrant in Otto. Trade is at the center of its daily life. The Ido market stands as the conveyance zone for food, crafts, and more. The former executive chairman, Amor Dofin local government in Lagos State, Nigeria, who is also the great-great-grandson of His Royal Majesty, the late King Ajayi Oloto, who ruled from 1908 to 1922, explains the trade and economic potentials of Otto.
Basically, Otto is a very big kingdom, and it involved the whole of the mainland, and that's why they said it's the Oloto of Otto. The Otto is the settlement, and mainland. Mainland is the jurisdiction of territories that he oversaw. That is Pao, who was the first Oloto. And it's quite big, quite extensive. From this point all the way down to Magodo area. Then you take it from this point all the way down to Amuwo, Dofin. You know what actually divide that portion of land from this side is the expressway coming from the Apapa Express all the way down to Oronshoki, like that. So he splitted the land, right? But he has some lands across that split where you have the Lord Chosen and all of that. Those are part of Oloto's land and all whatnot, right? And as you can see, the National Theatre is sitting on Oloto land. The National Stadium is sitting on Oloto land, right? The Tamal Station, that's at the fringe, at the water bank there, is also sitting on Oloto land, right? The land is very expansive, very, very expansive. What Otto needs primarily is urban renewal. There are a lot of shanties around. Just on this bridge, you can see the growing shanties. And by the time you get to that point, you see a lot of shanties. That's even threatening the aesthetics of National Theatre. It's likely you find arms and ammunition. And there's a lot of pollution going on. Then, if you look at the town itself, there are a lot of old buildings. I'm not talking about the old Portuguese buildings now. There are buildings that should have given way, for modern buildings to come up. And Otto itself is a gold mine for Lagos State. It's a revenue source for the government of Lagos State. The ocean economy is there to its advantage. You see, this large water body you see was not as big as this. In the days of old, it was quite small. Part of it was dredged so it can accommodate bigger vessels. Then the bridge was introduced and all of that. And we also appeal to the federal government to help resuscitate this power plant that is just here. This power plant used to take care of the whole Lagos Island and larger portion of the mainland. You understand? So these are things that we hope will happen. And even this swampy area, it can be redeveloped, right? The water body, they can have embankment, just like the River Thames, can be redeveloped so that a larger percentage of the land can be landfilled, and you can have an eco city, small eco city, redeveloped to our advantage so that we can win carbon credit from the UN and all of that. We can redesign all of this place. You can put in windmills to produce energy for this area, or we can go gas. There's a lot of tourist potential in this area. A lot of tourist potential in this area. Otto has the first railway station at Ido. The first post office is here. The first church, you have it here. You have the Methodist Girls Secondary School here. Even the first modern hotel, mainland hotel, is here in Otto. But because of the abuse of the environment led to the collapse of the business around those areas. The urban town planning department must work in tandem with the vision of the Lagos State government for an urban, well-planned urban city, smart city, right? And all of these things. It will work well. The University of Lagos is here. Yaba Tech is here. WAEC headquarters is here in Otto. Even the famous ITT that MKO Abiola became the head at some point is by Empire. Yeah, it's here, very close to Yaba bus station. So those are the things that we're saying. Even there's a big fish market here, a very big fish market here. The oil tankers, vessels, oil vessels, Beecroft, NS Beecroft, they're all here.
As the first settlement on the mainland, Otto is known for many firsts. Of note are the oldest church as well as the oldest mosque on the mainland. Both worship centers are still functioning in Otto today. The National Theatre, Igomu, home of the arts, sits pretty and distinct. Some of the oldest bridges, old posts, and post office, Our Lady of Apostles, the Methodist Girls High School, as well as Queen's College, Lagos. Other educational institutions are the Yaba College of Technology, Yaba Tech, the University of Lagos, Unilag, all centers of excellence. Otto is also known for its security infrastructure. Of note is the Panti Police Station, Ijora Olokpa, and Denti Army Barracks. The Lagos State Waste Management Agency, LOMA, has its headquarters in Otto. Great landmarks like the colonial building at Adekunle no doubt speaks of its uncompromising history and quality, which many believe can be made sites for school children's excursions and learning. The Mainland Hotel, Ido Market, Otto Market, the old thermal power station by Echo Bridge, the oldest government ministry building in Otto and mainland, the Ijora Fish Market, various shrines, rivers, and many more. This alone emphasizes the critical need for transformation of Otto. The future of Otto clan can be said to be bright, if only the potentials and political will exceeds personal interest in a place seen as a gold mine. But instead, grief takes the better of the people of Otto, where the oldest established throne on Lagos mainland and Otto has been proven.
If Marwa wanted to rewrite history, if he had actually wanted to redress that, it should have done that then. If you give someone that kind of beautiful description, you say you are restoring back is
right to the stool as an order to the ancient days, where they could have went ahead and actually state that what no one dare touch that aspect to read.
In 10 years of this time, maybe it would have been a first-class palace, not where we are. But you remember, there's always a stay that said that at least you know where you're coming from and you know exactly where you're going.
Otto needs transformation. No water, no good roads. Majorly, Otto needs development.
The economic viability stands out as the people look forward to welcoming investors and the government to partake in opening up and providing basic amenities for them.
if I have the opportunity of meeting with Mr. President, who incidentally has a wide range of knowledge of the importance and the strategic nature of Otto and Otto royal family, I will plead with him to come to the aid of that family through the kind of assistance that his administration started with the Onirus, that he extended and subsequent governments after him extended to them at Ikate, the one he extended to the Onekois, the one the government is extending presently to the Ajino in Ajino. I would plead with Mr. President to please assist the Olotu royal family to have that kind of opportunity of true reclamation. You can go to Ikeja from there, Surulere, Island. These are the center. Whenever you want to connect, it's easy to connect through from here. So I will appeal and plead to our government to come to a lot of aid.
But my focus right now is development of Otto. I don't need anybody to help me to sweep my house before I know my house is dirty. I need it to be clean. So I'm looking at internationally, our major focus is on diaspora, investors. We have so much. Gima, you see, the funny thing is that we have so much land. Name it. But a lot of people are just sitting down on those lands, enjoying what they did not labor for.
We want also to transform to modern look, to modern, to a device look. We want development in Otto. We want government intervention in Otto to come and build school, come and do our infrastructure. We need road infrastructure.